when you think about 24, big hit, broad audience, I'm contrasting that to the Pulp convention yesterday that a few of us were at. They have a very targeted audience, basically an older Pulp collector. When our panelists think about people who love Pulp and who are engaged in Pulp, what do you see as the audience, and who do you see yourself either writing to or selling to? What is that type of Pulp collector today? Mark, you want to start us?
Well, that Pulp one today, he's probably in the date range of, he's probably around, maybe even usually younger 15, where, I mean, he's been buying Pulps and he's been seeing various things, but the big issue is that you got to be, all these people have to be readers. And, you know, comic books are fine, you read comic books with pictures. Pulps aren't about pictures, except for the covers, which are what attracted people to them. In fact, Harry Steger even made a test to where he wanted to sell more books. He found that the covers that had the most red and the most yellow were the ones that most attracted the stand. And as a result, a lot of his covers had yellow or red backgrounds, depending on the title. So the reader, he's got to be someone who wants to read. Some of these books, by the way, some of these books are available on things like PDF and Kindle and such. But we're talking about younger kids, mostly male, up to probably including the well, people my age, who maybe remember some of the stories that they read, or that like the analog, which by the way is a retitle of Astounding Stories. So that's the target market, and but I have to tell you, if you really want to come in, by all means, you know, come in, read the books. They're waiting for some of the good stories.
Yeah. Chris, who's buying this book? Who's excited about this book?
The idea behind this Spider book, and let me just, as a contrast, show the original magazines that this book is reprinting. This is a Pulp magazine for anyone who doesn't know. You know, my task here was to, in a sense, I guess, freshen up a Pulp character. I think Derek makes a fantastic point when he says that, you know, lots of people actually are enjoying Pulp style entertainment today, but they just don't know it. I think everybody on this panel is actually trying to, you know, take specific Pulp characters and specific styles of writing and update them for a modern audience, and get the word out on how this stuff is Pulp, whether you know it or not. Yeah, the idea behind this book was, I mean, basically, I wanted to design something that was retro, but not necessarily pulpy visually, and to do something that you could see someone reading on the New York subway without any embarrassment at all.
Or leaving behind any paper chips.
Right. Or you know, as my mom would say, you know, children being shuffled away from the newsstand. You know, when you know, she wasn't allowed to look at these magazines when she was a child. So yeah, my task is really just to come at the material from a modern perspective. How would this book be designed today? Now that means keeping a lot of the retro flavor, but still trying to extend the audience. And I think I've seen a lot of that with you know, online reviews and just different reactions to different people. People who've never read a Spider novel will check this out because I'm selling it, yes, as the Spider, but also as a Nazi allegory. The interesting thing about this particular novel and why I wanted to reprint it is it's a 3-part Spider epic where the Spider is your typical, not typical,
no,
but he's an urban vigilante with 2 guns, you know, dealing justice. The state of New York is taken over by fascists, and now he's got to deal with taking on the entire government, not just some crazy, you know, army of lepers or whatever. So it's a fantastic story for New Yorkers, and I've actually been pitching it sort of that way to extend the market for Pulp.
This has nothing to do with the Tea Party, Chris?
You can read into it whatever you like.
Okay.
If you know, it's funny when I thought to publish this, we were in the Bush administration, and some of my cover copy may make a nod to that. But I've had a lot of people say like, oh yeah, just like Obama, you know, and I'm like, you know, hey, who's ever in charge is going to be the enemy. I'll sell it to anybody. Yeah.
also, I'm very interested in how you got involved with this personally. I think many of us, I know my generation came from comics to Steranko to paperback reprints with either Doc Savage
in the 60s,
or Shadow a little bit after. How did you get involved and what do you think, what type of person is reading your Green Llama books?
All right, well, I'll start by saying that I'm by far one of the younger pulp writers out there, and I'm not saying that as a point of pride and to make everyone else feel like they're old up here, but I am. Yeah, I'm pretty young. I just pretty recently. Jesus Christ. So I kind of grew up with movie serials and Golden Age comics with my father. He, who's in the audience right now videotaping this, so Frank, very nice. Basically, he brought me up with everything from Batman to the Green Llama to Golden Knight comic books that no one else in there of my age has even heard of or will probably ever hear of. I watched more serials like Flash Gordon more times than I can count. The Phantom, I knew of the Spider through the original serial, so I was sort of like, I had no choice. I was basically, raised to be this, and with that I know it.
Good job, Mr. Garcia. It sounds like Doc Savage is raised from birth.
Yeah, just so you know, I am Doc Savage.
Oh, yes.
So I knew the Green Llama a while ago, and for those of you who don't know who the Green Llama is, he is created by Kendall Foster Crossan back in the 40s as a sort of answer to the Shadow. The company, the Muncie publication company, wanted to have the Shadow's really popular, we need to have our own Shadow. So he created the Green Llama, who's Jethro Dumont. He went to Tibet for 10 years to become a Buddhist, and he comes off the bridge, off the boat, and he sees a girl get killed in a drive-by, and then he uses his Buddhist powers to fight crime. So
probably the only Buddhist.
Yeah, he never killed. So, so the interesting with the Green Llama, and I'll just do a quick mini history on this. He was in the Pulps. He had 2 comic books. He had a radio show, and he almost had a TV series in 1950, but it wasn't picked up. So there was a lot of different iterations of it, and my dad collected the Green Llama comics. He has the entire series. So I knew of him, and I was approached by Ron 48, probably butchering that name. By Ron, who's in charge of Version 27, which is a smaller, one of the bigger new pulp publishers out there, and he gave me a list, Green Llama, and I'm like, well, I have to write the Green Llama because that's so cool. So what I do, as a writer and as a younger writer, I can't write in the style of the 1930s. I've read all the original pulps that I can find, so I try to set my stories in continuity with the original stories. Yeah. So I'm trying to write for people who are familiar with the comics and with the pulp, so they can pick it up and say, oh, this is a continuation of the story. But at the same time,
you list the chronology.
I have the chronology in the back of the book, so if you want to go back and read them. So fans like, let's say, Mark or Chris or Derek or anyone who is familiar with these books can read these in order and appreciate them. But at the same time, I know that 90% of my friends, in fact 99.9999% of my friends don't know who the Green Llama is. They don't know what pulp is. So when I'm writing these stories, I'm not writing them for an older audience. I'm actually writing them towards a younger audience. I try to write, I can't write like the original creators. I can't speak in that language because let's face it, I'm born in 1983. I can't write, now I made everyone feel old. I was born back in the 80s, so I don't know what it's like to live in the 1930s. I don't know what it's like to do that, to live that sort of lifestyle, or write in that language, or understand. So I write with a more modern perspective. I add character depth. And I try to get a more modern spin on the characters. I try to add some. I feel a lot of the original pulps have their characters very, good. They're good, and that's it. And I try to add a little bit more three-dimensionality to it, and also write it so, not only my friends will read it, but their girlfriends will read it. Like, hello, I want you three to read it. So
that's what makes it work.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes it work because, like you said, you were introduced to it by your father, so you took the concept and the spirit of the character and made it work for you as far as your generation is concerned, which is how legends are passed on.
Exactly.
Every generation reiterates the legend and makes it work for them in their time and for what. So you took the green light and said, okay, this is what works, but you didn't just throw it away.
I couldn't. Yeah.
You said, you know what? I want to make it work for me.
Yeah.
And that's why the
But,
book is such a success it is.
Thank you, Derek. I'm my favorite person. No, I tried to write it in such a way that would not offend older audiences, while at the same time bringing newer audiences into the genre, into the character, who might want to go back and say, oh, this is a really cool character. I'll go read the other ones, the originals, and then say, wow, Adam's is a lot better. So that's my approach.
That's great. That's great. Now Derek, you have a similar take with Dan Fowler. Could you tell us a little bit about why you like that character and how you got into this, and who you write to as well?
Well, I write for myself. I mean, okay, I don't sit down and say, okay, well, I'm going to write for this person. I think that as a writer, I have to entertain myself first. Because if I don't like it, then you won't like it. And it's going to come across on the page. You know, that's the way I see it. Dan Fowler, I like writing that, and I wrote one story for Issue 27. And the thing I like about writing that character is that it was back in the 1930s when, you know, there was no Miranda, when there was really a very thin line between the cops and
the robbers?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, the cops would just go in and just, you know, break down doors. They didn't have to read you your rights, anything like that. You know, it was really a very lawless time on both sides.
Yeah.
So that's why I like writing that character. And
The little wish fulfillment, you're saying? You wish things were simpler, or is it more fun for fiction?
not really. I like things as they are now. But I think that when you write, you know, you're able to get out that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. I wish that I could do this. Like when I write stories about my character Dylan.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Would I like to live his life? Yes, but maybe a day, not all the way.
Yeah.
You know, just for one day, just be able to go out and have these fantastic adventures and do these things, and you know, beat super villains, and you know, get the girl and everything. Yeah, for one day, not no.
Yeah. Derek, can you just give us the 25-word synopsis of Dylan and tell the audience a little bit about him?
Okay.
Please.
Dylan is a guy that was raised up in a technological community by his father, who was a genius scientist. The community is destroyed, and then he's taken by his mother, who's a warrior, to Shambhala. And he's raised up by this warrior caste. Then he comes back into the world, and he's about like 30 years old, and he becomes a professional adventurer because there's nothing else for him to do.
Yeah.
You know, he was never raised to do anything else. And he's looking for the people that destroyed his homeland. But he gets into these fantastic adventures. In the first one, Dylan and the voice of Odin, he's hunting down this super criminal who has a sonic device that is capable of destroying, you know, solid matter. And he actually destroys the Eiffel Tower. I blow the Eiffel Tower.
So it's based on a true story.
And in the second one, he's looking for this huge golden bell. It's got Lovecraftian overtones, and it's got chances of World War, and it's got zeppelins, it's got airplanes, it's got it's got everything.
Yeah, that's great. You can really see your passion come out as you speak about
Yeah.
it.
Well, you know why? Because I think that all of us here, we grew up with this stuff. I know that my father